Okay, good morning. Is it on? Yeah. So can those online hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay. If there's any questions or anything, all right, for those online, a reminder again, I can't see your comments or anything when I'm sharing screen as I'm only using one device. So if you have any question or if I get muted or something happen along the way, do turn on your mic and let me know. Okay, so let me get your attendance so that we can scan, and then after that we'll start our lecture today. Now you can always find your attendance. I will try and if I remember to always put down your QR code in the Teams, but it will only be activated during class. All right, during the respective lecture. So you guys can scan the QR code. What the heck is that? Okay, can see it. Oh, okay. You see? Scan now, because only I just activated. Okay. Don't scan beforehand. Got it? Okay. All right. So last week during the lecture, we only completed half, right? Do you remember? Yeah. So I only covered half the lecture. So today we are going to continue on with lecture 2 and then lecture 3 as well. Right? So there will be 2 lecture topics today. So where we left off last week, so do you remember where we what we discussed last week? What was the topic? No. What did we cover last week? Lecture 2. What was lecture 2? Lecture 2 is actually a very important topic. What did we cover? Information system project, which is related in regards what about system information system project? No. Yeah, we talk about feasibility analysis. We talk about what are the reasons for information systems project and how to build a business case, right? Okay, so that was the first part of lecture 2, right? On the feasibility analysis, right? The building a business case for the information system project, and also what are the 4 feasibility study. And today we're going to look at what is systems development, methodologies, and tools. And then we're going to look at our focus of our whole entire course, which is SDLC. Right, we're going to introduce SDLC today. Right, let's go to the okay. So we're going to look at information systems development methodologies, techniques, and tools. Now, why do we want to study information systems methodology, techniques, and tools is because systems development, all right, project have very high failure rate. Later on, when we look at lecture 3, okay, on systems project, I think there will be some statistics there, on the failure rates of systems development. Now, systems development failure, what we consider failure, all right? So failure could be due to lack of ownership, right? From ownership from the stakeholders, people involved, right? From the top owner, the management, right up to the users. Okay, so lack of ownership and commitment, all right, from users as a result of low level of involvement. Most of the time, decisions sometimes could be made from the top down, right? And then the users who is going to be affected because they're going to use the system to do their perform their everyday task. They were not consulted, and if they were not consulted, at the end of the day, they might not. Once the system is developed, they might not even want to use it, right? Or they might even sabotage the use of it, right? So then end up the systems, even though it's developed, costing lots of money, but it's not considered a success because it was not used or used for its intended purposes. Some of the reasons why systems development may also fail because of it does not satisfy business requirements, okay? Or the business requirements could be misunderstood. Now, why does it not satisfy business requirements? Right, business requirements nowadays. What's happening in the business environment? It's moving very fast, isn't it? So because it's moving very fast, situation may change. All right, especially we are global, and there's so many uncertainties even today, right? Especially due to technology, due to regional, instability, and natural disasters, and so on. So business requirement will have to change to adapt to the changing environment. And once things change, all right, then our needs also change, right? Our needs on how the systems will work for us also change. Okay, so if our systems that are in the process of being developed, all right, still based on the old requirements, then of course by the time it's handed over, does not meet the requirement anymore. And not only that, all right, sometimes there could be misunderstanding. All right, I can communicate with you, I can tell you share with you, the lectures, the topic, and so on. All right, and then I will still get students coming back and telling me something else. All right, so it could be misunderstood. Right, so communication is not easy sometimes, especially if you don't really see the person face to face, and make sure we understand each other. All right, so communication is very difficult. So it could have been some misunderstanding. Then business requirements could have changed, right? From the beginning to between the beginning to the inception, that means the start and the end, especially if the systems development project takes years, right? If it takes years, then of course things might happen. All right, things might change, the business environment might change, the company might change direction, a lot of uncertainties. So requirements also change. Another thing is, right, inadequate use of analysis and design tools and techniques, right? Though you don't use proper tools, proper techniques to develop the information system to ensure that you have check and balances, you have you are able to adapt to changes correctly and appropriately. Then because of this, your systems, once it's developed, delivered to the end user, right, then the end user requests a lot of changes. They say, oh, no, this is not what we want now, or or they want additional features, or the requirements has changed, so they ask you to what? Modify takes time. Right, and it also costs money as well. So therefore extensive maintenance and requirements, all right, so will increase. And not only that, it may cause some backlog as well, because definitely the IT team has other projects waiting. All right, so there's going to be a backlog. I mean, you might not, they might not put your request as a priority. And any combination, any reasons, okay, that cause systems to fail. All right, so what then should we do? All right, what then should we do to improve system success? So according to this author, it says that there are two parties equally responsible, right, for the system success. One is the business manager, The other one is the system specialist, right? System manager means the project manager, right? The person in charge, right, of the project for the systems development, as well as the systems and at the system specialist, the ones that's going to develop the systems. So it's not just one party's responsibility, it's both parties, right? So to ensure that at the end of the day, the systems develop, okay, the business owner is to not just need to know that at the end of the day, the system satisfy their needs and their end user can use it, all right, the intended for its intended purposes. So the system specialist needs to not just develop the system, but also ensure that the system is user friendly, can satisfy the requirements of the users as well. So it's both parties, all right. So it's both parties are responsible. So which brings us to what is systems methodology, right? Systems methodology. So what we need to understand that there's just few terminology, the difference between methodology, technique, and tools. So methodology, the definition given here is that it is a recommended means. That means a way to do something. It's a recommended way, right? Just like if you want to bake a cake, all right, make a cake. So there are different methods, isn't it? Some requires oven, some does not require, all right, using an oven. Okay, so because it use different ingredients, different techniques, different tools, right? So it's different methodology. Some require baking, some does not require baking, and things like that. So a methodology is a way of doing things, all right, and this systems methodology, this methodology can help to achieve the development or part of the development of information system based on their own rationales. That means each recommendation has their own rationales, has their own underlying philosophy, has their own techniques and tools, recommended techniques and tools to ensure the development or part development of the information systems. Now, why do we say part development? Because there are so many methodologies. This is just a few of it. All right, and of course, our is our methodology that we SDLC that we want to study. All right, that we are going to look at later is also one methodology, one system development methodology. Do you see SDLC in the list? Do you see SDLC in the list? Yes, it is in the list. It's just that the name is different. Okay, all right. So there's a lot of short form here, right? So you have JAD, like Joint Application Development, SSADM, Structured Systems Analysis and Design. Then SDLC is actually also known as Waterfall Model, right? There's another name for SDLC, Waterfall Model, right? There's so many different types of methodology, and this is only part of it, right? So each methodology has its own philosophy, has its own justification and rationale, has its own recommended techniques and tools to achieve certain part of the system's development, all right? And some of these methodology are very complete, all right? So some of this methodology are very brief only, okay? Some of this methodology is very technical, some are very easy to follow, okay? So it's quite a variety. But our focus is only waterfall model, because waterfall model, later on you'll learn that it is the earliest and the most traditional, and I would say quite complete, right? It covers all the stages and also very methodological, all right? All right, so then so it becomes a basis for us to learn. Then from there, all right, it is adapted. A lot of other system methodology can be adapted, right? Then you would understand, right, other systems methodology. So this would be the basic. Then of course techniques, right? The term system techniques are actually specific techniques the systems analysis and design teams follow to ensure outputs, all right? Techniques to ensure outputs are clear. Right, is a way to do to present an output, a way to present a design, okay, a way to do things, okay. So such as DFD, ERD, and rich picture, So it's a way of doing a particular activity, and each technique may involve one or more tools. That means software, right? So tools are basically software. So these are some examples of techniques. We will learn uh, uh, certain techniques as we study SDLC, all right? As we go through each phases of SDLC, we will learn certain techniques, all right, that is relevant for each of those phases and also recommended by SDLC. Then basically, what is system tools? Tools are software, right? Software that can be used to design the systems, like case tools, right? Systems architect tools, tools for managing the timeline for your system information systems development projects, such as Microsoft project, tools for presenting, all right, the architecture, the processes of the systems, like Microsoft Visio, all right, and any other relevant tools. Okay, so these are some examples, other examples of tools. So that is the quick and brief definition of methodology, techniques, and tools. So just now we saw that there are many examples of methodology, right? SDLC is one of them, right? And there are hundreds more, right? There are actually hundreds more, and new one has, especially now with new developments and so on, all right? New types of technology for systems development, such as AI tools and so on. So new methodologies are developed. Okay, why do we want to learn methodology? Why are we learning SDLC? Okay, so that's the question, isn't it? So why methodology helps is that we can use it to record, right, the requirements of our systems. Okay, it gives us a way to record it, tell us why we record it, how we should record it, how we should keep it, present it, and so on, right? So that there is no gray area or misunderstanding of the requirements. It also provides us with the systematic methods for developing the system, and also a way of monitoring where we are, what stage we are at the systems development, and also to introduce best practices, right? There's a benchmark, right? You benchmark against, like, this is how you should develop systems. So later on, when you are doing your systems audit, right? I was talking to an auditor the other day. So he was saying that they are looking for what, systems audit, right? Systems auditor, information systems auditor. That is what is lacking. Okay, very hard to audit the information system. They want someone who can audit, right, the information systems. Okay, so that's why we need to know the process, the procedures, the methodology that was used, right? What's the philosophy? What was used? How the systems is developed, so that later on, methodology is that's how we can benchmark. So we know, oh, you meet the requirements. All right, did you do A and B and C? All right, when you were developing the information systems, do you follow all the rules? Okay, so that's why we need systems methodology. That's why it helps. So also to ensure the system is developed, meets the requirements within budget, within the set time, okay, and also meets the requirement of the users, and also provide also indication of changes. So it's a way of documentation, right? Methodology helps you provides you with documentation, so that you know what changes has been made as you were developing the system, so you can follow. And also that's a black and white as well. And of course, at the end of the day, you want to provide a systems, develop a systems that is used by the user, right? That is accepted by the users. So there are some features of systems methodology, and what we mean by features is that if we go back to the slides of example of systems methodology here, right? There are so many different systems methodology. They are all actually different, all right, because they all have their own philosophy, their own justification, their own rationale. So they are different, but there are some similarities. And what are the similarities? So these are the features of a methodology, right? So the methodology can be full-fledged or very simple. That means it can be very detailed or very simple methodology, one page, documentation of how the methodology can be used, or it can be one whole textbook, all right, manual of how to use the system methodology, right? So system methodology can also cover a wide range of areas of the development process. Now, development process means what? From the moment you start to the moment you hand over the project. And sometimes even cover after that support, right? So it's a whole entire cycle. So sometimes methodology can cover the entire cycle, even up to post-implementation, right? But sometimes methodology can only, there are some methodology that only cover some part of the development process, right? And then methodologies can range from being designed to be for specific purpose, right? Specific development of certain information system, or a methodology can be used for any type of systems development, all right? So it depends, right? So a methodology can be used by anyone, okay? Some methodology can be very simple, can be used by anyone, even those of us who are not very technical, don't understand all the technical jargon of systems development, but there are some that are very technical. Okay, so it ranges, it has different ranges for methodology. So some methodology may require a large team to develop the system, some probably only one. Okay, a methodology may or may not include tools and techniques. Okay, tools and toolset may involve software. Right? Some use software, some might not. So because there's so many different types of methodologies, is there any one best methodology, or how do we decide which methodology to be used? Okay, so is there a best methodology? All right. So actually there, according to this author, Evison and Fitzgerald, they say no, there's no best methodology, but there is a methodology that will be suitable for different situation, or you call that context, different context. So depending on your systems that is being developed, and also the requirements, all right, the context. So what is the context? So over here, here we see what a continuum, right? A continuum. So a continuum ranging from where the context is that you have a very structured problem situation, or on the other extreme, very unstructured problem situation, and in between, and anything in between. So this continuum, all right, there's this continuum here. So then what does that mean? All right, so let's look at one extreme, structured. Let's say you have requirement here, all right, you have a requirement here. So your requirement here is that you have 20 banks, all right, is it a bank? So they have 20 bank branches in KL, and all branches combined, there are 5,000 deposits made on each working day. We keep details about each deposit, and the details that we need to record, details means the record. So we need to record the customer account number, the amount deposited, and so on. So these are the records, so very detailed. So structured means what? You know, it's very clear cut. You know what is your problem, you know what you need, you know what you want. All right? You know how many, how often, and what are the details. Can you see that? It's all there. On the other extreme, the other context, it's very unstructured. Now, over here, this is another statement of the requirement. It says we need a new web portal to allow customer to buy groceries online. Now, it's very general, right? The statement is very general. So when you say a web portal for people to buy groceries, okay, who are the people, customers that you are referring to? Is it customers within a certain location, geographic location, or customers from all over the world, right? So, and not only that, how many customers access do you need to support? How many products you need to carry? What are the details? What are the transaction capabilities of this web portal? Nothing is known, right? Nothing is stated. So this is what we call unstructured. So we see two different extremes. So depending on your context of your system development, right, they suggested, All right, they define it, they divided the context or the situation. All right, they identify 5 category of situation here, and they gave their recommendation. All right, their recommendation on what systems methodology to be used. All right, would be most suited in that context. So the first context is that you have a very well structured problem, a well defined problem, as well as clear requirements. Okay, so your problem situation, the context, the business that you're operating is very clear cut, right? So it's very familiar, and then you know what is your problem, and you can define it like this one. We have 20 bank branches. We have 5,000 deposits, all right, a day, and these are the information we need for each of these deposits, these transactions. Okay, so in this case, where you have well-structured problem, well-defined problem, and clear requirements, then they suggest a traditional approach such as SDLC, which we are learning is more suitable, right? So when everything is clear-cut, everything is understood, okay, then and you can easily clearly state what are the requirements. So this would be the most suitable methodology. Then the other one, the next one is as above. As above meaning what? You have a well-structured problem situation, a well-defined problem, but with unclear requirements. So this is the second situation or second context. So in this case, because your requirements are known, but everything else is clear, all right? But only requirements you are not sure about, you're not sure yet. So in this case, they suggest that you use a data modeling or process modeling approach to find out what is the requirement. So it could be through the techniques or methods such as prototype, okay, to clarify the requirement, to get the requirement. All right, so this is the suggestion. Third situation, where you have an unstructured problem situation, but an unclear objective. Right, unstructured problem situation, and also unclear objective. So if you don't even have this one didn't even mention requirements, right? Because if you don't even know what's your objective, can you even come up with your requirements? Cannot, isn't it? All right. So in this case, all right, you have not clarified your problem because your problem is still very unstructured. That means here and there. Okay. The recommendation is to use a soft systems approach. Right. Now, what is soft system approach? Lecture 13 and lecture 14, we will cover some of this other type of systems methodology. We will briefly go through what they are. Then the fourth situation, where you have high user iteration system. That means an information systems that is developed require many versions. Right? It has to go through many versions until you reach your final one. So in this case, all right, a people focused approach such as ethics is suggested, all right, or spiral method is suggested. And the last one, very unclear situation, all right. So in this case, the situation now it's very different from the third one, because third is you know there is a situation, but it's just not placed clearly, not clarified. But here, you don't even know what is the situation, but you know there is a problem. All right. So in this case, a contingency approach such as multi-view method is suggested. Right. So based on this author, Evison and Taylor, all right, they say there's no one best methodology. Just the method depends on the situation, on the context, and then choose the best methodology. So for us, what we want to go through is SDLC. All right, we are going through SDLC. So what is SDLC? And we will go through SDLC for the rest of the semester, right up to week 12. All right, right up to week 12. We will, starting from today, right up to week 12, we'll be looking at the different stages of SDLC. So SDLC, as I mentioned, is one of the earliest method, as you can see here, is one of the earliest methodology that was developed. Now, when we say earliest, all right, we are not saying that before that, even before that, all right, systems, before we have system methodology, all right, the system developers are already developing systems, but they use their own method, right, their own way to do things. And because there's no proper method, they everyone do things their own, and developing information system become like an art, so the system you develop is very unique because you use your own way, you use your own technique, you use your own tools. So sometimes it's not transferable, all right? You cannot tell others how you do it, okay, because of that. So SDLC was developed around 1970s, in the early 1970s by Royce, to provide a guideline, right? To provide a proper guideline that systems developer can follow, so that it's easily understood, and people can, anyone coming in to the systems development anytime, all right, during the phases of system development can follow, can quickly catch up and know what's happening, right? So SDLC consists of phases, and these phases are progressing, right? Organized in the progressing. So that means one phase is completed, then you can move on to the next phase. And the next phase is completed, then you move on to the following phase, and so on. So because of that, it's also known as the waterfall model, all right, where outputs from one phase become input to the other phase, right? If you look at this, one example of SDLC, if you look at how it is presented, it's kind of like waterfall, isn't it? So the output from requirement phase become the input to the analysis phase. The output from analysis phase becomes input to the systems design phase. So it's kind of like a waterfall model falling down. That's why it's also known as waterfall model. So SDLC phases are tailor-made to the specific IS development. Now, what do you mean by tailor-made? I think week one I told you something, right? Week one I told you you can use any textbook you like, okay, all right, other than the recommended textbook. But for exam purposes, you need to follow what the recommended textbook, right? You need to follow the SDLC phases of the recommended textbook because there are many phases, right? Depending on the requirements, okay? So a large large systems development that is very complex may have more than 5 phases, right? Because it's basically the 5 phases or 4 phases broken up into more phases, okay? So this one, this is a SDLC with only 4 phases, from analysis, design, development to implementation. This one has 4 phases. This SDLC has 6 phases, okay? All right, this one also 6 phases, but they name it differently, all right? Okay, there are some, if you Google, right, you use Google, you Google SDLC, they will give you variation. Some even 20 and phases or more than that, and so on. But for exam purposes, all right, in your exam, all right, so please, this would be when we discuss, when your question is asked related to phases of SDLC, these are the 5 phases, okay? So planning, analysis, design, implementation, and support security, right? So that we don't have multiple answers. So this is the diagram, this view of this SDLC phases, right? Again, presented as a waterfall model. Now, I want to explain each of these phases, all right? The explanation that I'm going through is actually in all these following slides, right? But I'm not going to move on. I'm going to explain from this side, okay? I'm going to explain from this side. So I'm going to move over here. Can those online hear me? Are you online? Okay. All right. So if those online cannot hear me, do let me know. All right. So I'm going to discuss based on these phases. Okay. So the first phase is systems planning, right? And then if you look at it, the solid, the orange line, how you see color, orange line, solid orange line, okay, shows from phase 1, which is system planning, right? So if you look at it, the very first thing that triggers this entire SDLC process is what? System requests. Last week we talked about system requests, right? So there might be reasons, the request from anyone, users most likely, right? Users can be customers, can be the staff, can be management. So there is a request, right? So this which would trigger the entire process. Okay? So you start with the system request, and then from the system request, the management might say, okay, go and do a investigation. So this is where we have the planning phase, right? Which include preliminary investigation and the detail later on planning, which is the planning for the system development, whether it's performed development system. So that's phase one. Okay, so starting from system request, which kicks off everything. So you start with your systems planning, where you then investigate. Okay, the requirements for this, you do research about the request, all right, about the feasibility, whether that is needed, all right, for the system development, all right. That means what is the how long does it take, all right, who should be involved, how much do we need, you know, and what is the systems, okay, what is the hardware, software that you require and so on. So you do a preliminary investigation, a preliminary report, and based on this preliminary report, which is the output of your first phase, okay, where you say, okay, this project will take approximately how long and how much of may be needed for the budget, okay, what's the expertise, what's the resources that is needed. So you have your preliminary investigation, which you will present to the management, okay, and then of course, once the management says, okay, all right, if the management approves the project, what happens? Start off and move on to the next phase. Okay, so the next phase, the preliminary investigation report will be the input for the next phase, which is systems analysis. Now, this analysis will be a detailed analysis, a more detailed. Right, phase one is just a preliminary investigation, right, about the feasibility of continuing of conducting this system development. Now, once it's feasible, it's approved, you move on to the next phase, which is systems analysis, which is more detailed analysis using all the various fact-finding techniques, okay, right, in more detail and maybe to find out the actual requirements, hardware, software, you know, time, and any other resources, okay, that for the system. That means functions and features. This is where you investigate all the functions and features, the processes, the actual processes in detail, right? The logics and so on for the information system. So you come out at the end of this system analysis phase, a very detailed document called the systems requirement document. So that is the output of systems analysis phase. And this systems requirement document is very important document actually because it becomes like a contract, a binding contract between the user and the developer. And sometimes you might get third-party outsource it to a third party, right, to develop it for you. So when you outsource it, of course, you know, there is a black and white that this is what I require. This is a systems analysis. This requirement document states out what hardware, what software, what functions, what features, what's the expected quality, all right, expectations of the systems and so on, and functionality and processes. Okay, so these are all the requirements of the system. So that later on, if you are as an accountant, you need to approve payment, all right, you will need to check the system, all right, that is delivered, does it meet the requirements, what is set out in the requirement document. So if it does not match, if it's short, all right, then of course you might not approve the budget or the payment until they fix the problem, right? Okay, they give the requirement. So this requirement document is a very important document, right? And based on this requirement document, okay, you can move on to the phase 3, which is systems design. So systems design, all right, is where you, from the requirements, start to design the system. That means draw the blueprint. Right? The system design is basically drawing the blueprint of the system, the design of the data, design of the architecture, right? Drawing the design of the processes. Okay, so the third phase is system design, designing the input and output stream, which is also part of the expectation for your group assignment, right? So you design the input and output stream, right? And then the output is of course the system design specification. So based on this system design, which will be the blueprint, you move on to the next phase, which is implementation. Implementation is where all the coding starts, right? So that means implementing the design, that means coding the design, coding into like the computer language, all right, coming up with the actual working system. So the output from system implementation phase is the complete functioning implementation where it would then be used by the user, all right, to do their job. I have to work intended. And the last phase, according to our recommended text, is the system support and security. It means after the system is fully functioning, you still need to provide support. Right? Sometimes anything happens, all right? We provide maintenance, provide user support, provide additional training if needed, right? So you provide user system support and security. So the output of this phase, of course, is the system is operational, continuously operational. Okay. Now, if you notice in this diagram, what else is there? A dotted red line, right? That goes backwards. Okay. What does that mean? Now, these are some of the what do you call that? Features or characteristics of SDLC. SDLC, we know is sequential, right? Sequential. So one phase finished, then you move on to the next phase. So it's sequential. There's nothing from planning to analysis to design and implementation. All right. So it's linear, right? But you can go backwards, right? But only to the previous phase. Right? You look at it, the dotted line. So system planning, right? Once you finish system planning, you can move on to systems analysis. But after you go through systems analysis phase, right? You realize that hey, there are some changes after during the thorough analysis. We feel that the systems that was proposed originally, it's too narrow. We want to expand the scope. Then how do you do that? You have to go back. Right? Go back and do a system planning again. That means relook at the budget, relook at the time, okay, right? And so on. So that's why you have to doctor line backwards. Right? So that's the disadvantage of SDLC. But it's very rigid, okay, it's rigid. And even if you can go backwards, all right, to other phases, it's only to the intermediate phases. Right? Okay? Then another thing I want you to take note, there's also another line here. This red line. From systems, from operational information system, right back to phase one. What does that tell you? What do you think that means? From systems, operational information system, right up to phase one system planning. What happens at the end of the day after you use the system for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? How long you use the handphone for? You use the handphone for 10 years? Really? Your computer? 5 years. After 5 years, what do you do? Change. Why? It's old, right? Does not support a lot of other new apps, right? Functions, it slows down, it breaks down a lot. That's why you buy a new one. So it's the same thing. Why is the red line going back to the phase one? It's because your system that the company has purchased previously 5 years, 10 years ago that was new, today cannot support the requirements. Right? May or break down quite often. Right? So it becomes obsolete. So therefore, when that happens, user might request for a new system. That's why the whole thing what? Starts all over again. Because then we start all over again.
Yeah, even for the system.
And basically after because it's obsolete, there is a request. Yeah, then we start all over again. Right? We're looking at the phases. Okay, so the system request is to be because it's obsolete, it's slow, cannot requirement. Then you have to start the whole cycle again. Because you're looking at SDLC cycle. That's not the case. System request start is the one that kicks off the whole SDLC cycle. Here we are looking at the SDLC cycle. That's why it goes back to phase one. Okay, any other questions? All right, so that's SDLC. Okay, and that is lecture 2. The only thing else, the only thing left remaining on lecture 2 is this one, structured systems analysis and design method. Now, what is structured systems analysis and design method? Structured systems analysis and design method (SSADM) is also another form of SDLC, you don't need to memorize this and so on, right? But I'm just mentioning it to you. The SSADM is also another popular waterfall model, right? The name, it has, I would say, the focus is structured system, right? Structured system. SDLC is also a structured system. But what's the difference between SDLC and SSADM? Because they are both waterfall model. So is there any difference? Any differences? Yes, there is. Right? So the similarity is that they are both structured. Okay? That means they have phases. One phase finished before you can then only you can move on to the next phase. So that's the similarity between SSADM and SDLC. The differences, okay, of between this is that with SDLC there are many variations, right? I mentioned there's 4 phases, there's 5 phases, some have 6 phases, up to 20 or more phases, right? Depending on the project, right? Depending on the project. But with SSADM, they only have 7 stages of it, right? They will have 7 stages. Okay, and they are more popular in Europe. Okay, these are the stages. All right, of the SDM. There's 5 stages, and there's 2 other sub stages which is not listed here. All right, so it does not change. Right, with SDLC you have variations, but SSADM these are the fixed stages. Right, that's it. And even more rigid than SDLC, isn't it? All right. So it also have its own techniques and tools recommended, all right, for development. So that's all for lecture 2. All right. So which is a business case, all right, and also what is methodology, techniques, tools, and then the methodology that is our focus, which is SDLC. Okay. All right. So those online, any question before we move on to lecture 3?
So far, no questions.
Okay, thank you. Like they sound very shocking. Okay, what we're gonna do? Do you want to take a break? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Later. Later, like when we finish lecture 3. Okay. So since we are moving from lecture 2 to lecture 3, let's take a 8 minutes break. All right, it's 2:22 on my clock here. So let's continue at 2:30. Okay, for lecture 3, and I'll just only need 1 hour as well, or less than that for lecture 3. Usually I will conduct lecture 3 and 4 together, right? Because 4 sometimes I will take longer. I take longer so that I can have time to slowly teach you the technique. But then I think I will cover lecture, try and cover as much as I can for lecture 4 next week. Okay. All right. We'll come back at 2:30. For those online, we'll come back at 2:30 for lecture 3. Okay. Did you hear, right? I also want to go toilet.
Supporting assignment activities.
Yes.
Assignment.
Mm. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so what we're going to do now, lecture 3 onwards to lecture 10, lecture 12 is basically focused on the phases of SDLC. So now we are going to start with the first phase, which is system planning. All right. So when we talk about system planning, of course, we want to talk about project management. All right, because we are planning the project. All right, the systems development project. So let's look at lecture 3. Okay, our first phase, systems planning. This is our focus under system planning, which is what is project management. We're going to look at the project management body of knowledge and what is project management body of knowledge. And then we are also going to talk about the scope, time and cost and quality, and what do you call that? The how to balance, all right, the balance between scope, time, and cost and quality, all right, in order to ensure that your project management is successful. Because it's a balance and it's also a competing balance, right? These are actually competing demands. They compete against each other, all right? So, to ensure that your systems development project is successful, you have to balance, you have to manage these competing demands, all right, or in project management. And then the last part of this lecture, we're going to look at project life cycle. So, what is project management? Okay, now in any company, we can divide the work that the company performs has either projects or operation. So what's the difference and similarity, right? Because we want to talk about project. So we need to first differentiate between what is project and what is management, what is operation, sorry. So projects and operations are different. Okay, let's look at the differences. So projects and operations are different in that operations are ongoing. Okay, what is the operations of Utah? The what? Teaching, right? Teaching, exams, and then what? Programs, promotion, right? Promoting, you know, registering students, verifying students, what do you call that? Qualifications, you know. So, and then this cycle repeats again. So it's ongoing, isn't it? As long as the company is a going concern, using the terms of accounting, right? As long as the company is a going concern, they will continue every day to perform their operations, right? The business operations. Okay. So operations is ongoing, whereas projects are temporary. Okay. So projects are temporary, all right, and they have a start date and end date. And not only that, the operations of a company are repetitive, right? Just now I mentioned. So every day, what happened? Lecture, tutorial, you know, every semester, lecture, tutorial, test, project, sit for exam, get a result, next semester do repeat again. So every day is the same thing. So what does the finance department do? Again, right? Receive payment, issue payment, all right? Receive payment from students, you know, and so on. So it's the same thing, right? Every department do their work repetitively as long as the company is a going concern, right? So it's ongoing. What do you call that? The operations of company are ongoing and repetitive, whereas projects are temporary. They have start date, end date, and also unique. Right? The project is unique, like your group assignment project. All groups are doing the same group assignment project, right? It is the same, right? You have the same criteria, isn't it? Everything is the same, but your result, would it be the same? Your work that you hand in later, would it be the same? No, right? It will be different. It will be unique, your own work. If it's exactly the same, plagiarism. All right, it will be plagiarism. You're gonna get in trouble. So that is project. Your group assignment is a project, okay, and it has a start date, it has an end date, it is temporary, and it's unique. Each one of you provide your own input, all right, and it's different. Even if you're doing the same company and the same topic every semester, just like I mentioned, every semester I will get the same proposal, SpeedMart 99, self-checkout system. But their proposal every year, even though they hand in the same, are different. Their research are different. How they write their report is different. Okay, their company that they have proposed or chose from in terms of suppliers are different. All right, so every project is what? Unique. Okay, so unique, that means there is a purpose. And so that's the difference between operations and project. Okay. However, the similarities of projects and operation is that both require people to perform. All right, whether it is an individual project, one person still require people to perform. And then operations of the company also require what? Staff, isn't it? All right, the company hire employees, or if it's just a sole proprietor, one owner, he's the staff, he's the owner, he's also the staff. He will have to perform the daily operations of the company. So both projects and operations are similar in that they need people to perform. And then they are constrained, both also are constrained by limited resources. Like for example, limited resources could be budget, right? Like a department in a company wants to hire additional staff, they have to look at whether they have money to hire, to pay the salary of the additional staff, okay? And if you want to implement a systems development project, you also need to see whether the company has budget to allocate, right? Both project and operations are similar in that both require, or both are constrained by limited resources, all right? Could be financial resources, could be human resources, okay? Could be time as well, all right? So whether it is project or operations, both need to be planned, executed, and controlled, right? Just like every semester, we have to plan what subjects to offer. We have to execute it. That means assign who to teach what subject. And then it has to be controlled. The management, the head of department have to ensure that the classes that the lecturer assigned are carrying out their assigned duties. Okay, so that is operation. If it's a project also has to be planned, executed, and controlled. Like for example, your group assignment. First, when you got it, you have to plan, right? Okay, it takes 10 weeks. Okay, start from week 1, due in 10 weeks. All right, due in week 10. You have to plan it. Okay, who does what part, right? And once you get it, you assign. So you have to plan. Okay, when is our first meeting? When's our second meeting? When we have to finish the draft by, and stuff like that. So you have to plan. And then you have to carry it out. That means each one has to do their part, it has to execute it. And it has to be controlled. I'm sure you all have group leader, right? You have a group leader, so the group leader has to make sure that everybody does their job. Maybe he's the one that's doing the compilation at the end and stuff like that. So whether it's project or operations, both also have to be planned, executed, and controlled, right? So these are the similarities and differences of project and operations. So of course, our focus is on project, isn't it? When we talk about systems development, it's a project. Because once you develop the system, you hand over, it is done, right? Project has a start date, has an end date. So it's temporary, okay? Whether it is 1 month, 1 week, or 10 years, okay? There is a start date, there is an end date, okay? So a project, by definition, is temporary endeavor undertaken to create either a unique product, okay, or a service, all right? Maybe you want to develop a new service for the company, or a result I want to achieve, okay? I want to achieve 1 million views, okay, for my company's promotional video within 1 month. Right? There's a result, isn't it? Okay, there is a result I want to achieve. Okay, how do I then achieve that result? What do I need to do? Then you have to plan, you have to execute, you have to monitor, right? Every day. How many views already? How many views already? Okay, right? So that's definition of project, and this is according to PMI, PMBOK. All right, what is PMBOK? Just now at the beginning, we talked about project management body of knowledge. Later, we will go into what is PMBOK. So a project can be at any level, undertaken at any level, all right? Can involve either one person, an individual project is still a project, or it can involve thousands of employees, like for example, the MRT project, okay, right? Involve thousands of people, isn't it, at different stages, right? Or a project can also, duration can range from a few weeks to several years. So MRT project is several years, isn't it? Okay, your group assignment project, 10 weeks. Okay, 10 weeks, right? Start from week 1, due date, week 10, right? Okay, so it can be from weeks to months to several years, okay? So projects can involve one or many organizational units. That means just within one department, or maybe cross department, or even sometimes with different companies. All right, like for example, Petronas, they might work with other companies to find new oil resources, right? So they might have joint ventures, partnerships, right? So that looking for oil is it's a project. Once they get it, then the operation starts, right? The operation of what? Drilling for oil starts. Okay, but all right, so it may involve one organizational unit or many, okay? So that is project. So when we talk about managing project, first thing we need to start is to identify the requirements, then establishing clear and achievable objective. So if you don't have clear and achievable objective, then this is what we require for your group assignment as well. All right, so you need to have a clear, achievable objective for the systems development. Okay, what do you hope to achieve? Okay, for the systems development. And not only that, in managing a project, the project manager really need to balance. I already mentioned, all right, at the beginning, need to balance between the competing demands of quality, scope, time, and cost. All right, and also to be good at adapting to specification, plans, all right, and approaches to different concerns and expectations of the various stakeholders. So basically, you need to be a good manager. You need to be on your feet. You need to know how to adapt or change according to the situation, right? Because sometimes situation may change, and dealing with different people, different stakeholders also, they have different expectations, all right? And you may have to talk to them differently as well, right? To different people, you have to tell them different things according to their level. So these are some examples of our project, all right? Designing a construction building, designing and testing a new prototype, implementing a new computer system, which is what we are focusing on, improving productivity within a target period, moving house, going on holiday. All these are projects, isn't it? All right, these are projects. Okay, examples of projects. Planning a friend's birthday party, that's also a project, right? Because there's a start date, the end date, right? The end date will be what? The friend's birthday, that day. All right, the start date will be the moment you start planning. All right, and then then there will be budget, cost. All right, there will be scope, size of the party. All right, then there will be just now what, quality, wow, I mean, do you buy a cheap cake or you buy an expensive cake, all right? There's an expectation of quality, isn't it? Do you what are decorations and things like that? All right, do you use recyclables or you buy, luxury, very expensive decorations and stuff like that? So there's an expectation of quality, scope, the size, all right, and then time, okay, how long you have to plan, how long you have to prepare, all right, and also budget, cost, how much you have, okay, and all this, just now we say competing demands, right? Okay, these are competing demands, all right? If you want expensive decorations and cake, then you have to look at what cost you have, isn't it? How much budget you have, can you afford it? Okay, things like that. So these are the things. Now, just now was definition of project. What about project management? What is project management? So if you look at project management, the definition here of project management is that the application, right? Application of knowledge, okay, what you have learned, other skills, okay, all right, tools, application of tools, that means any software, okay, any techniques, okay, to project activities, right? The project activities, that means the task you need to do to for the systems development, right? So it's the application, right? Project management is the application of all this, right? So to your project activities to meet your project requirements, right? So that you can accomplish your project. So project management is accomplished to the application of an integration of the project management process, right? So every project has processes, I mean, or phases or stages as well, so that it's easy to manage, all right? So from initiation to planning to executing to monitoring and controlling and closing. There must be an end, isn't it? Right? Because project has start, end. So project management is the application of all this. So the project manager is the one that is responsible for accomplishing the project objectives. Now, just now we talk about PMBOK, right? So we have just like accounting, right? In accounting profession, you all have a professional body, right? Such as CIMA, ACCA, MIA, you all have a professional body for your accounting profession. Now, for project managers or project management, there are also professional bodies, okay, that can provide certification to qualified project managers. So it's the same thing. You also will have to sit for tests, all right, and apply for membership as well. Okay, so there's also membership for project managers, such as this one, Management Institute of these are some example of project management associations, right? So Association of Project Management Institute, or International Association of Project Management, just to name a few, right? And if you look at it, this one is taken from Project Management Institute, okay, which is a global, what do you call that, institution, all right, association. Malaysia also have a charter, all right, PMI charter. So this one is taken from the global statistics, right? As of 2020, right, they have a total of 600,000 members, right, registered members. All right, from how many countries? 214 countries all over the world, all right? And 302 charters, that means offices, okay, all right? One in Malaysia, okay, and 8 potential chapters, that means new chapters. So there are certification, these are different type of certifications that they have, all right? Just like I think in accounting, you all have different type of certification, right? Qualifications as well. And from their analysis, okay, from their research, right, they also projected in terms of growth and talent gap in terms of project management in different sectors. All right, they need project managers or people who are qualified, right? Like for example, manufacturing 9.7 million openings, okay. In information service and publishing 5.5 million, and etc. Okay, so they need project managers. Okay, these are the project managers, because the thing is, it keeps the company, they always undertake projects. Okay, so these are the job openings that they might need. So this is the Project Management Institute, okay, their website, and this is the Project Management Institute of Malaysia. This is the Malaysian chapter, right? The Malaysian office, the Malaysian certification office, okay? And why we are looking at PMI is because of our next topic, which is Project Management Body of Knowledge. So this is what do you call that? A guideline. Okay, this is a guideline that is developed by PMI on project management. All right, so this is a general guideline for project managers. So it can be used for systems development project as well. And then another one which recently they came out with a few years ago, which is called guideline for agile systems development. Right, because agile systems development is actually one of the newest systems development methodology, all right, that is quite popular and that is used more and more recently, rather than the more structured and cumbersome SDLC. But then SDLC provide us with a detailed look at the whole systems development process. That's why we are still studying SDLC, right? After so many years and after so many changes, and also recently we talk about AI and how we can develop information systems very fast using AI, right? Okay, but why are we still studying something that is developed in 1970s? Okay, right? This methodology that was first used in 1970s, because it gives us what? A very structured overview of what is systems development methodology and processes. Okay, then after that you can jump in, you can understand agile method, you can understand any other methodology, all right, because there's variations of it. Okay, so project management body of knowledge, this is what we want to look at. So this PMI, okay, is the one that is the author of this PMBOK, and it provides a framework and starting point to understand project management, right? Just now we talked about project management is the what? Application of knowledge, skills, you know, techniques, tools, right, for systems development. Okay, so this PMBOK includes introduction to what is project management and a brief description of all 9 project management knowledge areas. This is what we want to talk about. Now, we are not going to go in detail every 9 what do you call that, project management area. If you are interested, you have another elective called project management, right? There's an elective subject called project management. If you're very interested, you can actually next time take this elective as well called project management. And in that elective, you go into more detail of these 9 areas, okay? In terms of costing, they'll teach you how to do the costing, all right? Project costing, how to do project costing, and go into more detail about how to do project, what do you call that? Time management, all right? And resource management, etc. All right? So for today, what you need to know, all right, for this is what is PMBOK? Right? PMBOK is a guideline for project management, all right, by Project Management Institute, and it has 9 areas, 9 knowledge areas. And what are the 9 knowledge areas? Starting from project integration management, okay. Project integration management, what does it cover? It covers from how to develop your project charter. Project charter, that means say what is why we exist, why this project team exists, what is the purpose of this project team, and what do we hope to achieve, what's the objective. So developing the charter, okay, right up to how that means how to start the project and how to end the project. If you look at the last one, how to close the project, 4.7. Okay, so that is project integration management. That means a project has many working parts. You look at it as scope, it has time, you have to manage quality of the project, you have to manage human resource, you have to manage risk. Every project has risk. Your group assignment got risk or not? Risk, what risk? Not submitting the work on time. Right? Group member, doing their part. Right? Or your file, you want to submit, corrupted. So many ways to do that, right? So the thing is, project integration management basically looks at how to manage the different working parts, right? From starting to from the starting of the project to how to close the project. And then the next one, project scope management. Right now we mentioned scope. Basically, scope is how to do. Over here they say how to do scope planning, how to define the scope, how to come up with the work breakdown structure on time management. Okay. Alright, and then scope control, how to verify your scope, how to control your scope. And that's very important. Scope management is very important because it tells you what we are focusing on, what we need to do, and only do what we need to do. Alright? Because if you do anything outside or anything extra or unnecessary, it's what? Always time and money, right? It's always time, money, and other businesses. Okay? So scope management is to ensure that you focus on what needs to be done and only what needs to be done. And if there needs to be a change, how to verify the change, right? How to approve the change and so on. Then you have project time management, all right? So which is how to estimate time, how to estimate how long it takes to perform a task. What is the sequence? Because some tasks need to be completed first before you can move on to the next. Right? You cannot do your presentation before doing the slides, right? Okay? You cannot hand in a report before you have a draft first, and stuff like that, and proofreading and so on. So there are a lot of things. There are some sequence of things. Right? So what is the project sequence, etc.? How do you control? How do you estimate the time? And how do you control? Okay? And then you have project cost management. So most of the time, this could be your part. Right? You could be the project manager, or you could be involved as accountant in the cost management, right? By estimating the cost, controlling the cost, right? And also budgeting, estimating, budgeting, and controlling the cost. Okay, so that could be your role in this system development program, or you could be the project manager. And then project quality management. So now you, what is our part? We have to set some quality expectation. All right. So quality planning, assurance, and how to control, how to ensure that the system development required quality was set up at the beginning. Then human resource management. Every project requires people to execute, isn't it? Right? Just now we talked about project and operations. Both also require people, requires somebody to do it. Right? So it could be one person, it could be thousands. So then you still have to manage it. How to hire, when to hire, how to pay them, right? And etc. Alright? So project human resource management. Then you have communication management. Now, if you have so many people within the team, you have to manage the communication, right? So that, and if you break your activities, right, you assign each other to do their different parts, right? You also have to communicate with each other, right? Because some parts are related, right? Your parts are related to each other. Okay, so you need to communicate, you need to share with each other your progress. Alright, and also what you're writing actually is the same. You have to got the same story, not a different story. Alright, and so you have to communicate. So that is just within team members. But what about communicating with stakeholders? You also have to communicate with stakeholders, isn't it? With the owner, right? The project owner. Communicate with user, communicate with shareholders if they are concerned, if they are concerned about it. So you need to communicate. So how to manage communication? Then project risk management, is now we mentioned every project risk. So what are the risks of the project? How to what you're going to do if it happens? What are the steps taken that you will take if the risk actually happen? Alright, some disaster really happen, what do you do? Okay, that's risk management. And then the next one is procurement. Right? Procuring hardware, software, and etc. Alright, so every project might require hardware or tools. Okay, so how do you acquire, how do you procure? Or if you need a project management office, how do you rent, how do you acquire the rental space, right? The office for it. So it could be as simple as pen and paper or the actual hardware contract. Okay, so how do you acquire it? Procurement. What is the procurement process? How do you find the supplier? How do you what do you call that? Hire them. How do you hire them? What is their agreement? Right? What type of agreement you will have with them, etc. Okay. So these are the 9 areas that this PMBOK covers. All right. Now, to know more in detail, like I say, sometimes what we are studying is just part of it. In AIS1, I told you that you actually studied SDLC before, but you all forgot. All right, but actually there's one lecture on SDLC, if I'm not mistaken, unless it has been taken off. All right, there is one topic on SDLC. Okay, so that is only in your AIS1, you study it in one lecture. Here, we are studying about SDLC, and we are talking about project management, but we are only covering only part of it. But then there's another course just focused on project management, right? Okay, so this is what we want to cover for project PMBOK. So just now we mentioned that a successful project, okay, we have to balance between the competing demands of scope, time, cost, and quality. So I'm sure this is just a very old one. I am sure recent one, there are hundreds of this type of one, and Malaysia very famous for all this, right? Government projects over budget, over time, does not meet the requirements, right? Quite familiar story. Quite a familiar story. Okay, even KLIA 2 went over budget, delayed. Once it's running, I don't know whether you remember, the runway flooded. The runway flooded when you were first started operation. You see, there's a lot of the project, it does not meet the requirements. Okay, so that's why these are the statistics, right? Why we need to manage our systems development, why you need a system development project methodology, right? Because when you talk about project management, if you look at this, 90% of organizations deliver successful project at least most of the time, which means what? 81% does not deliver successful project. Right? That's the statistic. 90% of organizations deliver successful project most of the time, which means 81% does not. Very high percentage, right? Of fail to deliver on time. Then 44% of organizations are likely to deliver projects that meet the original goal and business intent. Remember, we say that sometimes business requirement may change over time. Okay, all right, because of either the project is too long, or the business requirement, is very uncertain and keep changing. Right, so therefore, 44%, right, of organizations are likely to deliver projects that meet the original. So which means 56% does not meet the original. Right, objective. This objective either change or there's some miscommunication of the objective. That's why your system does not, that is delivered, does not meet the original. Okay. 30% of organizations are likely to deliver projects on time. It means 70% not on time. Okay, right? 36% of organizations likely to deliver projects that are on budget, which means 64% not on budget, not within the budget. So if you look at these statistics, right? So this is taken from a study, all right? So if you look at all the statistics, you can see how important project management is. Right? So ensure that the project is delivered on time, within budget, meeting the quality expectation and objective of the intended project owner. All right. Okay. So these are the 4 competing demands. All right, of a project. All right. If you look at it, this is also known as the project triangle. Right. This project triangle. So a triangle has sharp edges, right? So at each sharp edges is the different demand. Okay, different demand. And then you have your preference. This is your scope here. The middle one, this is your scope. And this is your scope. This is my preference. This is what I want. Okay, but in order to achieve my scope, right, the time, cost, and project quality, okay, has to be balanced as well. Right? So if I want to, my scope change, right? My scope change, I increase the size of my system development. Okay, the requirement I want to add additional functions, additional features. Then, which means either I have to the cost will increase instead, because then if I want to still have the same deadline, but still have the same deadline, I will need additional, overtime for and maybe for other hardware and software, right? And then my cost will increase if I still want to meet the deadline. If I want to still keep it within the cost, then my deadline I might have to push, okay, or tighten, or if I cannot, then what else? Quality must rise. Okay, we maybe reduce, maybe I cut corners here and there in order to give you the additional function features. Something else I couldn't focus on, or I can't help. Right? Things like that. So all these are what? Completely demands. Right? So you don't have unlimited resources instead. You don't have unlimited resources. So something will have to be cut in order to meet other areas, right? So that's why we say these are the competing demands. So these are the definition of what is scope, time, all right? What is scope management? Scope management basically is the managing of the process, okay, required to ensure that the project includes all the work required only, right? Scope management, or to ensure that whatever is done for the project are the required activities for the project, so that it's defining, right? That means it includes defining what is part of the project and what is not part of the project, right? So if we include, if we don't define, okay, that's why I always ask you, what system, not just the system, can you also describe what's included in your systems development, right? Otherwise, then you're going to, if you do not define it, then anything goes, all right? And then end up your budget will also increase, right? If you don't define your scope. Then your time management, all right, is all the process necessary to ensure that your project complete in a timely management, that include the application of all the project management techniques, okay, to manage your time. And then cost management, all right, process involved in planning, estimating, and budgeting and controlling all the costs that the project can be, so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. And then quality management, all the activities of performing organization that determine quality policies, objectives, and responsibility, so that the project will satisfy the needs for which it was undertaken. That means who is in charge of approving, whether a project, whether a task has been done satisfactory, and what does satisfactory mean, and so on. So that is project management. So now we want to look at what is project life cycle. Now every project has a life cycle, right? Have a life cycle. So we assign, okay, every project we will break it down. We try to break it down into different stages, okay, so that we can manage each stage. So we know where we are in the project life cycle, right? So that's why we will break it down. We start dividing into phases, so that we can easily manage and control. We know where we are. It's just that we have SDLC. So sometimes for your group assignment, you can even break down your life cycle into SDLC phases. Right? So we are at this phase now. We are at design phase now. We are at implementation phase now, or we are now at support phase. Okay. So then we know what needs to be done at each phase of the project. What are the budgets? What are the people required? All right. So that's why we have project life cycle. So collectively, all these phases are known as project life cycle. So these are in general the phases of project life cycle. You have your initial phases, right? What is your initial phases? So those are the starting phases, right? The forming of your group members, the identifying of what needs to be done, completing the charter, throwing up ideas, brainstorming, right? You all still are brainstorming your topic, isn't it? Next week when you come back, I need to confirm with you, yeah? Okay, so you're still at the initial phases, right? Or previously last week, before you will still add drop, you still have students add drop, so your group member also not confirmed yet, right? So these are initial phases. Then you have your intermediate phases, all right, of a project, all right? Intermediate phases may include planning, baseline, progressing, acceptance. And then your final phases will be approval of the project and handover. All right, it's very important, handover. It means I'm done, I'm giving it back to you. Okay, and must be, every project has what start date there. So it's a handover. Okay, getting approval, handover. And the handover will be the final product or a result or a service that has been created. Right? So that is a typical sequence or phases of a project life cycle. So why we need it? Okay, why we need it? Because the phases define what technical work to do in which phases. Okay, all right. So later on, as we go through systems planning, systems analysis, systems design, all right, systems implementation, system support and security, we realize that we are doing different things. All right, what different work is done at each phases. Also, what the deliverable, when the deliverable is a start date, end date, okay, of each deliverable as well. Like your group assignment project, the deliverable of your topic is week 4. Okay, so that's the deliverable you must confirm already by week 4. Okay, so having phases gives us a deadline of when your deliverable should be generated, how it's reviewed, how it's verified, and also validated, right? Validated what? Your group assignment topic, validated by your tutor, okay? Then who is involved in each phases? Is it just the project manager, the team, or different departments, okay? Different sub-teams within the project, within the whole project. And how to control and approve each phases as well. Who needs to sign off? The project manager, the project owner, the finance manager, who needs to sign off, all right, at each phases. So these are the why we have a project life cycle. So there are some common characteristics of a project life cycle. Okay, the common characteristic is that a project life cycle, the phases are generally sequential. Right? When you have a project, these phases, initial phases, intermediate phases, and the final stages, they're all what? Sequential, isn't it? Right? So one phase move on to the next. And the final component is the handoff. And then throughout the project life cycle, cost and staffing are low at the start and peak during the intermediate phases and drop at the as the project draws to a conclusion. This is our cost and staffing. All right, as you can see from this, all right, so from the start date to the end date of the project, all right, so the phases are sequential, initial to intermediate to final phases. And then when it comes to cost and staffing, right, usually during the initial phases, cost and staffing is very low. Why? Because the initial phases is just the core project team planning, doing the planning, right? Then once they know what they want, okay, how many people they want to actually carry out the plan, they hire additional people we have, all right, coding programmers, you know, and maybe a contractor to change if it's a server room, you know, to install the aircon, to install the electricity, etc., to do some renovation. Then what? The cost and the staffing increases, right? And also peak during the intermediate phases, and then it goes down during the final phases. Why? Once the work has been done, what happens? You need less staff, right? Okay, right? The programmer, once they finish programming their part, they move on to other project already. Right? So you don't have to pay them anymore. Okay, so you have less staff, so that's why cost and staffing decrease. And then you don't need to purchase any more stuff already, okay, or hardware or software anymore. So it goes down during the final phases. So this is the graph for the cost and staffing. And then what about level of uncertainty and also influence? Okay, what do we mean by level of uncertainty and influence? Okay, let's look at this graph here and I'll explain from here. Now, this level of uncertainty and influence, okay, at the beginning, these are the initial phases, right? Initial phases, intermediate phases, and then final phases, right? So at the beginning of phases, such as your conceptual design concept, basically it's a planning and design phase, right? Your conceptual phase or your planning phase, and then your design phase, implementation phase, commission phase is the final phase, right? The final phases. So during the beginning phases, level of influence is very high. Whose level of influence? The team members, everyone's stakeholders level of influence, everyone's level of influence is very high. Why very high? At the beginning phases, when you are deciding on the topic, all of you can give our ideas, right? Okay, everyone has the same authority. Or not saying, hey, let's do this or let's do that. Everyone is still brainstorming and considering, right? They are still brainstorming and considering. So everyone has a equal share of say, right? Of what topic to do. Okay, so your level of influence, let's do this or let's do that, is still very high at the beginning. Okay, but if you look at that, it drops significantly. When it drops significantly after week 4, right? Once you confirm already, okay, you see that your level of influence dropped already. Hey, you already decided, already come, Miss Esther, then we're doing this topic, right? Do you think we can change? No, very hard, isn't it? I still give you an opportunity to change, alright? Alright, you can still change if you look at it. But it drops very significantly the moment you confirm, right? Because then you'll be starting to work on your assignment, do your research, spend hours writing, okay? Right? Meeting and doing your work, and your level of influence drop and plateau as you move on with your project, as you near your completion date, right? Because the moment you hit week 8, suddenly a group member say, I think our topic not working, shall we change? What's going to happen? Week 8 you'll be very busy, right? Okay, we either work midterms, right? Or midterms. Okay, you still want to change, but you already like spend your work for your group assignment already 80% done. You want to change? Your part already 80% done, or maybe even 100% done. You think you want to change topic? Okay, so which means level of influence of any team members, how high is it? Very low. Okay, so that's why we call level of influence as you move along the project, because the company already spent what? Resources, money, and time to complete the project. So the level of influence of anyone who says, hey, let's change, okay, plateau, unless you're the prime minister. You know the Twin Towers last time? Have you all been up there with the Twin Towers? You don't know the story? You know, before you go up the Twin Towers, they put you in this room, then they'll tell you the history of the Twin Towers. You didn't listen. You know that Twin Towers was actually not supposed to be that high, that tall, alright? So at that time, they're almost like completing, or don't know what phase. I have to go back and listen to the story again. Right? Completing the project. Then Martin went and visit the site. I think he was the prime minister. Okay, he was the prime minister, fourth prime minister at the time. Okay, right? So then he looked at the site and he said that so he was asking, once the Twin Tower completed, it will be like ranked how tall in the world. Then they say, if you were to add how many more meters, it will be one of the tallest buildings at that time. Then he said, then why don't you add every more meter? Right? And everybody was like, okay, because they over completed, how are you going to change the what? So that's why you have the two and that up there. Alright? So that we became the tallest, the tallest Twin Tower at that time. Okay? Alright? So level of influence. At first, do you think that anyone, project manager, was thinking when we at this, do you think anyone can do it? Not anyone can do it. Alright? Unless you're the vice president. But that's only the exception. Right? So then, of course, why he can do it? Because he had to prove what? People, money. Right? So level of influence. Okay? But typically okay, level of influence drop. Potential to add value, that means for you to give your suggestion. Because your level of influence drop, your ability to provide additional value also drop. Okay. Then another thing, cost to change. Please do not confuse cost to change with discount, cost of staffing and cost of staffing and cost of the project. All right. Cost to change is different from this cost. Cost and staffing level. Here, cost and staffing level is talking about at that time how much you need. All right. So at different phases, this is how many staff you need and how much you have to pay during this time. All right. Okay. But cost to change is different. Cost to change is what will happen if suddenly you say, I want to change the direction of the project. I want to change the features or functions of the project. At the beginning, if you want to change, it's very low. Because you have not designed anything, you have not set anything. Alright? So you want to change, no cost to me. Right? No cost to the company or the cost is very minimal. Right? So you can change anything you like at the beginning of the project. Right? Because you have not spent much yet on the project. But as you move along the project life cycle, okay, cost to change increases and become exponentially higher as you move along the project timeline. Cost, just like Martin coming, and say, why did you add a few more meters? How much is going to cost, right? To redraw the architecture design, right? To calculate whether it can support or not the additional levels, okay, and so on. Right? What are the risks? What are the quality? Involved? And how much cost will it happen? Right? So the cost of change becomes very high as you move along. Right? Because whatever you have done, you have to modify. That means additional hour to be additional hour, additional resources, okay, to make those changes, to implement those changes. So that's why cost to change is very low at the initial phases. All right. Become exponentially high as you move along, right? So that is the project life cycle in terms of uncertainty, influence, cost, and cost to change as well. All right. So that is on introduction to project management. All right. On our planning phase. Next week, for lecture 4, we're going to talk about some techniques. Okay. The more details about what involved in project management. What are the things that project manager needs to manage, and also what are the techniques and tools. All right. Then during tutorial 5, you will also learn about Microsoft Project, one of the tools or software for project management. Okay. All right. So that's all for today's tutorial. Any question? Online, any question?
So far, no questions.
Okay, thank you for your response. Okay, if no question, thank you very much. I also will end this meeting so that
Yes, I haven't scanned yet.
You have not scanned, okay? You have 1 more minute to scan. Please go to the files, go to QR code.
Okay, thank you.
Go to file, go to QR code. Okay, go to go to your lecture and scan the correct one. There's 2, there's 2. Scan the correct one, which is today is what, 15th of February, right? 15th February. Scan the one 15th of February. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you very much because I have another tutorial now.